My character is the mother of Beth, who is our narrator. I am married. I have another son. We are members of a church. Emmanuel is the name of our church, and every year the church does a great big giant Christmas pageant. And this year the director of the pageant has a terrible accident. She breaks her legs, and I get honored with the task, almost said stuck, of directing the Christmas pageant this year. And to just add a tiny bit more stakes, it's the 75th anniversary of our church's and town's Christmas pageant. So it's a big deal. We've seen obviously a lot of romance about Christmas. She says, sitting in Winnipeg, the Hallmark Christmas movie capital of the world. And we've seen a ton of comedy Christmas and Santa Christmas, and but I haven't really seen, I think, what I would call, like, for a wide audience, like a movie that could reach like all the demographics, like a nativity Christmas story. Definitely Grace goes through a big change in the story. And that was something that was interesting that kind of evolved even after I accepted the role. I really loved the story. I loved the script. I had a really incredible meeting with Dallas Jenkins, the director, screenwriter, so I was excited to do it no matter what. And then he reached out a few weeks later and he's like, hey, I've been doing some rewrites, and I kind of feel like it would be a more interesting story to tell if maybe Grace is not so agreeable in the beginning. And so and that might even be the wrong word, but I like it because he gave her more of a journey. He gave her like a real beginning, a middle, and an end. I am no stranger to the Christmas Story. So I didn't have to do that kind of research, although I found myself really agreeing with Bob, my husband, Pete Holmes, when he was asking a lot of questions about Herod. And I'm like, yeah, like, who was Herod? Like, where is he in this whole thing? And what happened to him? And I found myself kind of like agreeing with the questions that the Herdmans were asking at our first rehearsal about the Christmas Story. And I was like, oh, yeah. I think when I'm playing a role, I like to try to incorporate as much of myself as I can to it. So I really loved that scene when we shot it, the first rehearsal. After I cast the pageant, we have our first rehearsal, and the Herdmans ask so many questions about the actual Christmas Story. And it's so beautiful because Grace gets a chance. You know that thing where you like, I know how to do it, I know what it is, but then you have to explain it to somebody who doesn't, and you're like, oh, right, like, this is really beautiful, or this is a really weird detail, or why do they do that? Why does she say this? And so it was fun to rediscover that through Grace. So I would say some of my research was done on set, but it's nice to take that away. And yes, because I spent a lot of time, I grew up in church, I knew the basics. So the movie is the memory of Beth. So my daughter is narrating this film, and it's her memory of this moment in time, which I think is a very cool point of view. And it's why, like, we don't change costumes for every single scene. Dallas Jenkins is amazing. He has a lot of energy, and he's had a very tough job. There's a lot of children in this film, and for those of you who don't understand legally what it's like to work with a lot of children, like, there's so many rules, which we need because kids need to be protected, but it does make for fun scheduling and interesting days, and it would be really hard to direct this movie. And I'm always impressed every day with how Dallas manages to get everything he needs to get shot-wise, keep his cool. The kids all seem to love him. We all love him. He's still always smiling, always happy, always upbeat. So I really have a lot of respect for him and his energy level. My favorite thing is making people laugh and have fun, especially going into the holidays. The holidays can be really this is an overused word, but they can be really triggering for people. So, like, in my fantasy, some family would see this movie in the theater together, and they would laugh and they would have so much fun, and then all the like emotion, would like really stick around and even creep in. And like some of these themes that we talked about, I think would really, um, stick to their ribs. But I always hope with a movie like this that mostly it will make people have fun.